Marvel has not been the same since Endgame. We all know this. From all the films and shows produced in Phase 4, there's one or two good ones, too many awful ones, and the rest are just bang average. Yes, No Way Home was an average film that heavily relied on fan service for it to be enjoyed. Nevertheless, I think I managed to pinpoint 3 reasons why it appears Marvel has lost its magic. Now, not all of these stories struggle due to all 3 problems, but most do share 1 or 2. But before I begin, let me know in the comments which Phase 4 film you think is the most under or overrated. I am sick and tired of every single Marvel film or show to be about preventing the end of the world. And I'm sure I am not the only one. Don't believe me? Here, have a look yourself. Out of all the Phase 4 entertainment plus Ant-Man, 8 out of 16 have something in the plot to do with the world being destroyed, whether it's directly by the villain or indirectly from their goal. For example, in Black Panther, Namor wants to wage war on the whole world, which would most likely result in many people dying. Now, why is this a problem? It is an artificial way to try and raise the stakes of the present story, and in most cases it is just lazy. You can even argue that it makes no sense as the villain's motivation. However, the biggest problem is that as the audience, we know that the bad guy won't win. Infinity War is my favourite Marvel film because of how unique it was. For once, the villain actually won, and so many characters were killed off, which no one suspected. This is why these high stakes make these stories so boring, because we know how they will all end. I can prove this is a major problem as in all the Phase 4 stories, the ones that don't have a world-ending plot are rated significantly higher on average, obviously with some exceptions. Now, why could this be? I strongly believe it's because the stories that don't focus on the end of the world focus more on the hero and their battle with their unique conflict. Yes, No Way Home was an average film, but it would only work with Spider-Man, because he was battling his inner conflict at the same time as his villains. Compare this to Wakanda Forever. If Shuri got defeated, there would be countless superheroes that could replace her in stopping Atlantis from destroying everyone. These personal stakes allow us to attach ourselves to the heroes because we too could be battling things in our lives, and it makes it much more suspenseful to watch. As some wise guy once said, it's about the journey and not the destination. Marvel just keep on catfishing the audience. What we are shown in the trailers is not what we get when watching the films. Ant-Man Quantumania is the latest culprit of this. In the trailers, we are teased about a serious story looking to a father who's lost so much time with his daughter and him potentially being manipulated by the bad guy to join his side. But then the film we get is completely different. There was no moral battle for Ant-Man picking a side or making the right choice. He simply gets threatened and then decides to stop the bad guy. It hurts so much because when watching these stories, you can see that there is a good story in there somewhere. But they just jumbled the pieces around to fit their cookie cutter formula. The same thing happened to Thor: Love and Thunder. These are both films that would have hugely benefited from a much more serious tone. Look at Infinity War and Endgame. They were much more serious than all these stories coming out now and everyone loved it. I don't understand why Marvel thinks they need to make everything into a comedy. They honestly sacrifice good storytelling to try and make jokes that most of the time are not even funny anymore. All the characters have funny lines even if it does not fit their character in the slightest. It just makes everyone feel the same. Now, it does not take a rocket scientist to figure out why audience members expecting one film and getting another leave so dissatisfied so often. If you tell me we are going to Hawaii and then we end up flying to Canada, I won't be very happy standing in the cold in my swimming trunks. So why do Marvel keep doing this? Another thing I see people complain about is that these stories pull a switcheroo on who the story is actually about. Take Hawkeye for example. The story is not about Hawkeye, is it? So why would they call it Hawkeye if it's about Kate Bishop? Well, to catfish the audience, of course. Why is it called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? The Wasp is relevant in this film and it's such a bad title. Or She-Hulk: Attorney at Law is so far from being a lawyer show. A better name would be She-Hulk Looking for Love, because the show spends more time concerned with her love life than the law. Finally, you can't talk about Phase 4 without mentioning the politics. I do miss when entertainment focused on being entertaining. When you would ask the cast what the best thing was about this show, and they'd reply that It's full of breathtaking stunts that will have you gripping your seats, instead of talking about the people involved in the show. I don't care about you, I am sorry, I just want to be entertained. We have an all-woman production team. Okay, but your show is more boring than watching paint dry. The first thing you hear these days is what ethnicities the actors will be, or what gender they are, and what message they are trying to push to change the world for the better. Just please focus on the entertainment side and not the politics side. However, Marvel and other companies won't stop this. They won't stop this because they realise how much free promotion they receive when they do focus on these irrelevant things. And anything that saves money is a win in their book. I mean, all these films that are just painful to watch are still making them money. As I'm writing this, the new Peter Pan trailer just came out. Tinkerbell is black and the Lost Boys now have girls in their group. Are these changes due to plot reasons? I doubt it. But it does give them a lot of free coverage online. The one show which I think displayed cultural differences very well was Miss Marvel. It didn't feel like there was a political message smacking you across the face. And her religion did play a big part in the story and wasn't there just for the sake of it to add diversity. In conclusion, Marvel needs to go back to its previous stories. Like Iron Man, where the stakes are personal instead of artificially big. They need to stop promoting different films in the trailers than the one that will appear in the cinema. And they need to leave the politics to the politicians, because I don't think this will be successful for much longer.